column up right now at OutKick.com from Armando Salguero, recapping what was the agenda push of the NFL through their presser yesterday, the State of the NFL address that Roger Goodell delivers each and every year at the Super Bowl host site from media members, where they hit on a variety of topics from minorities at quarterback to the NFL trying to push the global franchises instead of expanding within the states, that and much more. And it struck a tone with Armando. He will join us live here on site in a couple of hours.
Yeah, Armando wrote about what he says is a multiple woke agenda items with the NFL. We're free to disagree on this show. Armando disagrees with our stances a lot. I completely disagree with about two of the things he writes about. Totally agree with one of the points. There's four big ones, and I sort of agree with a fourth. The one thing in the tone of this article that I completely agree with Armando on, and we'll talk to him about it as well, is this idea that in some way an NFL head coach or a GM cares at all about the race of the starting quarterback. That is of such a bygone era, and it does not affect any decision-making in the NFL today. I don't think there is a single person. I will say this in totality. I don't think there is a single person employed in the NFL that has a job coaching, being in a front office, general manager, owners, anyone that cares whether or not their quarterback is black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever. I think discrimination at the quarterback position has been completely eradicated from the game. Was this a problem 30 years ago? Yeah. Was it a problem 60 years ago, 40, 50 years ago? Absolutely. It is no longer a problem. So much so, Hutton, that when we started reading stories about this is the first Super Bowl to feature two black quarterbacks,
right?
It blew my mind because I didn't even think about it.
Same.
It wasn't something I even thought for a second about with Patrick Mahomes and Jalen Hurts. Last thing I think about with these guys are their race. First thing I think about is, these are two guys that were up for the MVP all year.
Yeah, the finalists, which will be awarded tonight.
That's
NFL
what
honors.
I think about when I think about these two guys. So totally agree with Armando on those points.
And Goodell's reacting as if the NFL has something to do with that. I mean, they have a playoff system in place for a reason. And, for all of the discussion about, the NFL is rigged, the way he answered is almost like, well, we need to do more to ensure that this continues. No, just the best quarterbacks are going to play. That's how this is set up.
Yeah, the playoffs are not racist.
Right.
So, yeah, Armando is dead on with that. There's a playoff system. That's how we advance to the Super Bowl. It's not racist structures that have led to this being the first game, the first Super Bowl featuring two black quarterbacks. Now, on some other points he brings up, I fully agree that the NFL, they want to lean into more of a left-leaning, quote-unquote, woke agenda. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, they want everyone to love them.
I mean, let's face it, that's majority of businesses owned in America. That's certainly a majority of media companies, not us, but certainly a majority of media companies. There's no mistake in that. But when Roger Goodell is answering a question from Donna Kelsey, the mother of Travis and Jason Kelsey, about the role of mothers with football players and growing up, and he talks about his mom only and doesn't mention his dad, I disagree with Armando that in some way is him not acknowledging the role of the father.
Right.
He was asked a question.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, if he was asked a question about fatherhood in the NFL and he avoided it or just went back and talked about moms being, way more important than dads or something like that, yeah, I would agree with that. But he was giving a long answer to a question asked about mothers, and he used the example of his own mother. I've got no big issue with that.
To Donna Kelsey, where the storyline last week was this is the Kelsey Bowl, with Jason and Travis matching up in this Super Bowl on Sunday.
Look, it's a good column. I encourage everyone to read it at OutKick.com, and
so
you can take away from it what you want.
Well, also, I'm reading through the transcript from the presser. Keep in mind, this is Roger Goodell, who is thrilled that he's not at the podium discussing Daniel Snyder. He's not at the podium discussing Deshaun Watson this year. He's answering questions to make the NFL reflect this positive image for everyone. And so he wants to make sure the headlines reflect the woke-type discussion points that are all checked off from the media that are asking the questions, including the first 2 black quarterbacks to start in a Super Bowl. Again, going back to, we're in an era now where you're absolutely going to play based on the superstar status of your QB.
There's no doubt.
Look at the draft right now.
Look, there are places and spots in American society where racism exists, and it's not just racism with whites against black people.
Sure,
there's racism in all forms in a lot of different areas. This is not one of them. This is just simply not one of them. So for Roger Goodell to harp on, I'm sure there's a lot of really bad things that is the reason this is the case. I just, not today. We can go back in time and we could legislate a lot of things out that were awful, and we've evolved as humans, and we are in a place now, especially in football and pro sports, where I am here to tell everyone, no one cares. If you are good at your job.
Except for the media asking the questions to the commissioner, who doesn't want the headline of saying, I didn't even realize this, because it's not an issue.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's, you and I think, are on the same page.
Yeah, we are.
I didn't even know until someone wrote it, that it was the first Super Bowl with 2 black quarterbacks. I assumed it had happened before. But in pro sports, sports in general, we love it because it is a meritocracy, and it remains that way. If you're good at your job and you help your team win games, you will be employed. That's why I love it. So to inject all of this stuff into it, I don't necessarily like it. The 2 other things I want to hit on, globalism with the NFL, which Armando covers in this piece, and I think he does a good job with it. I do somewhat agree with what he's saying on this. When you start taking home games away from home fans and moving them to England and Germany, that is taking away from that hometown market. And it does show a little bit of favoritism to a country that you don't currently have NFL teams in when you're taking away from those hometown teams. So from a business standpoint, it makes total sense.
Sure.
You want to be global. You want to make as much money as possible all over the world. The NFL is just like every other business that wants to do that. So I understand what they're thinking globally. I also completely agree with Armando on the point about, but at the expense of what, right? We want to sell more tickets in Germany. We want to sell more Josh Allen jerseys in Germany. We want to sell more whatever, media rights deals in Germany. Well, great. But at times you're doing that at the expense of your own fans. And while the NFL is a giant that's not going anywhere, there is a level that people can reach that if you keep taking and taking and taking and changing and taking your diehard fans for granted, then things can change for you. I don't think we're anywhere near that, but it can change.
You can view it that way. I would view it as they're going to continue to add and add and add. They added the 18th week 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And they definitely had this in mind in terms of the schedule and the rotating schedule, where the fan base every other year is going to have the same amount of games as a 17-week season at home. And then you're added the extra home game for NFL owners to reap the benefits of that. And then the NFL owners can throw their name in the hat if they want to give up one of those home games to then go and play overseas. Hello, Jacksonville. This is nothing new in regards to the globalization of the NFL. They're adding extra weeks. They're adding extra games. Meanwhile, the same amount of home games for those same fans remain in place at the stadium.
Yeah, totally. Ageism, Armando hits on the column too. I think every marketing opportunity and project out there at times is probably ageist to an extent. Everyone wants customers that are going to be around longer.
Yeah.
It's just math, right? So Roger Goodell in the press conference talked about the Amazon Prime, the Prime Video games. The average age was 10 years younger than our normal audience. And he said something like, that's exactly what we wanted, okay? I don't hear that. Again, we'll talk to Armando about it when he joins us live too. I don't hear that as we don't want older viewers. I hear that as we want to make sure we're appealing to all younger viewers. Not that go away, old people, we don't want you. It's just, well, yeah, you want to market your product and have the youngest possible people watching, because the idea is you have a repeat customer for a longer period of time,
and not only
which
that,
only helps the NFL or anyone else selling anything.
Chad, we grew up in an era where you went to the game.
Yeah.
The parents now will elect to stay at home and watch the game. And the NFL wants to connect with the young audience that's not going to the NFL game live. And they want to make sure they're building and connecting with that group so that they remain the superpower that they are.
Yeah.
Why do we clip our show every day?
Yeah.
Is it for the 70-year-olds that are going to see 80 for Brady?
No. It's to make sure that we stay relevant with a younger audience
Right.
as well as anyone that's older
Sure.
in our audience. I mean, that's business 101. Now, if they were doing something I thought was just a direct slap at their older fans that have been around forever and supported teams forever, I would have an issue with that. Maybe some perceive going digital for one game a week is a slap in the face of older people. I respect older people enough to believe that if you really want to watch the NFL game on Thursday night, you can find it on Prime Video. They can find it if they really wanted to find it. So
And Prime's paying $1 billion.
yeah, it's
Show me the business that wouldn't take that.
Yeah, it's a mixed bag. But the theme of the article, I'm in lockstep with because it's just more of the same that we see from every league. The Hockey is for Everyone campaign that we talked a lot about, right?
Yeah.
Everyone is doing some level of that. The NFL, to my knowledge, isn't going as far as the NHL has with this campaign, but everyone is trying to do something to virtue signal, to show we care about everyone more than you care about everyone. And those who don't care about something, well, we don't care for you. That's the way of the world right now. It's frustrating at times. It's not going away. We're just going to get more and more of this from Roger Goodell, the NFL, everyone else.